Hi, welcome back to another episode of Latin Women in Action podcast. Today we're going to be starting a new mini-series discussing just the 2024 election and our thoughts on it, especially as Gen Z who are able to vote this year in November. We want to express some of our concerns that we see both in our communities and social media and just in general for American politics, especially for the next 4 years, which are very important. For reference, today's February 3rd, and this episode will come out sooner. So just in case things happen in that week span. But today we want to talk about candidates and also some of our concerns about their positions and also just general stuff and then what we want to see from this election.
Yeah. So like Sam just mentioned, we are both Gen Zers. And as Gen Zers, I feel like a big concern with of all of us are the age of our candidates.
Yeah,
There
definitely.
is definitely might not be a mental capacity at that age, and that's proven,
Hmm.
scientifically proven. There's a lot to be responsible for. So someone at over the age of 80 might be a little bit concerning. Like
Yeah.
they have to make really great and heavy decisions without the need of others. And that's
Hmm.
definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, both Biden and Trump are the leading candidates as of right now, for Trump in their party. And there is a concern that like when you're over, like right now, the life expectancy in the US is 77. And both
Exactly.
candidates are, I think, Trump is around that age and Biden is older. And there is a
Mhm.
concern that like will someone, like even if they have like great ideas and could do a lot for this country, that if someone that age could handle being president and the mental strain that it takes, and also
Exactly.
even with the best healthcare in the world as the president, like you can't stop death, like there's a concern that someone could die in office, which could lead to a lot of mismanagement in
Whole
office.
bunch of
And
mismanagement.
yeah, and also like as you get older, of course, like your body starts to like fall into itself, it's you can't do as much as you did as you were
Mhm.
able to do as of course like a 40-year-old or 50-year-old or 60-year-old. And this also comes with like mental concerns that like a lot of older people, they struggle to like have like a lot of mental cognition, which is definitely something really important to being the president of the United States of America.
Exactly. The most important
And
role.
yeah, one of the hugest roles, like with press conferences and all the responsibilities that are expected from such a high office. And for the next 4 years, Biden may be like 85 and Trump like 82, and that's really old.
That's concerning.
And also, older people tend to not reflect the same ideas as like the entire population. Like the entire population is not at the average age of 80. I believe it's around like the 50s or 60s, considering how many young people there now are.
Exactly. And like you just said, that it's just the whole mindset thing of
Hmm.
two different groups of ages. Like Trump and Biden, they're all the way on the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
There's so much more population in the US that's coming to the other side of the
Hmm.
younger side, like Gen Z, a little bit before that. But there's just so much difference in the mindsets of the two groups. It's
Groups, yeah.
drastic.
Yeah. But also like it'd be nicer to see like new ideas and like
Exactly.
younger people who can introduce more. Like in general in American politics, our presidents and our government officials tend to be older, like much older. You can see this in senators and in the Supreme Court justice systems and like the president itself. It would be like I know it's a bit late to bring up new candidates, but it would be great to see younger people who are able to have new mindsets and bring in new ideas, which is the
Exactly.
importance of having term limits, like that's the
Hmm.
whole point. It's we want to bring in fresh new ideas every single time
Exactly.
instead of
And some of
having
the
the
Mhm.
same show off as 2020, which is exactly
Exactly.
Trump and Biden.
And that's where candidates like Claudia de la Cruz and Nikki Haley
Hmm.
comes in for the
Yeah.
younger generation.
So, segueing from that topic, we want to talk about concerns for candidates and also where American democracy is heading exactly, with our main two candidates being Trump and Biden, and maybe Nikki Haley if she is able to get more of the votes where she is. Like she's doing
Hmm.
very well in the Republican primaries,
Yeah.
but there's a concern for like what's the limit of presidents when it comes to things like felonies and
Corruption.
the corruption and the court cases,
Exactly.
especially like I think our best example is of course Trump. There's been like so many court
91,
cases,
91 counts of
one court like counts of
charges.
like charges against him, and I think we should be asking ourselves,
Is
how
this the
can like
person that
is
we want
this
to run the US?
yeah.
Exactly. Hmm.
But also for future notice, like there are even in smaller elections, like currently in New York, there's one person running for I think senator. I don't remember his name, but I was just talking to Mercedes about this, but he slashed his wife's face and he's still able to run, or he wasn't able to run after that exactly happened, which I think was in like 2008. But ever since then, he has been able to run, and I think we have to ask ourselves, like, should people who have such accounts of felonies and doing stuff like this, should they be allowed to run for president? Mm,
And there are already states trying to get this stopped. Like I forgot which exact states it were, but there's definitely states that are trying to get Trump
yeah.
off of the ballot
As
as
of right
as well.
now, Colorado
Yes,
ruled that Trump is not allowed to run for president because of the 14th Amendment, which says that those who have like committed insurrection, like government officials, should not be allowed to be on the ballot. Though the Constitution is, of course, very vague in
definitely
almost
very
all of
vague.
it. So right now, this is being considered in the Supreme Court of Justice.
To
But
reference what Sam is saying, it's exactly
mhm,
Section 3 in the 14th Amendment.
yeah, so there is a concern for what is the limit that like
Exactly.
especially like in the future and American democracy in general.
And then we also just have to think about if a president is going to be willingly able to commit these things, we should really take into account what they would do as a negative to the entire US.
Yeah, and also what example does this set for the
Yep,
people of the US? If you're able to be president while also facing so many charges, what does this say for everyone else? Should you be allowed to just do whatever you want and not face the consequences for it and still be able to run for president while doing such actions, especially when there are a lot of like when it comes to Trump, which who is kind of like the main example for this, a lot of what he has done is against the U.S. government. Especially
exactly.
we've seen this in January 6th and hiding the
The documents, the
documents,
government, yeah, in
the
his
governmental
bathroom.
documents, and he's been proved guilty already for this. Like this isn't there's no vagueness around this anymore. Like as of right now, maybe a couple of years ago, but now we know that these have happened, and he has to face accountability, and he has already faced accountability. But when you see him campaign and rally, he seems to be proud of it. Like he speaks about it as if nothing has happened, especially like when it comes to being against women and what
Hmm.
he's
Hmm.
done to specific women in the past who have come out and said that Trump has harassed me. Um,
Yep.
like how can someone like that be continued to hold office when there's so much proof against him, you know? And
Yeah.
not even to be like against Trump, this is like an example that we should be holding people accountable, and people who want to run for president should be able to say that like I haven't done this before, like they shouldn't be allowed to continue and like
Exactly.
being allowed to do this
As
with
a
me
young
as
person,
federal.
as a young person, I
Hmm.
definitely think the president should be someone to look up to. The
Yeah.
president, like you should follow in what the president sets examples for.
Hmm.
And something like that, I'm not talking about just Trump. I'm talking about any president who's done anything of the sort. They should not be like setting that
That
standard.
standard, yeah.
Exactly.
Especially and then when it comes to international politics, you know, like this is a little personal note, but when the mugshot came out and when it came the charges, I was in London. And my cousins who lived there were already telling me, they were like, we know everything about this. Like, this is what we think of. Like, this is how we see America in politics. And I was really
Exactly.
shocked. I was really surprised because personally, I don't really know that much about UK politics, you know, like I'm
Hmm.
not that informed about it. But for them to know like all about like, yeah, we saw January 6th, we know what happened, we saw
Yep.
this, and
Yep.
this. And it's like, this is the example that we're setting as a country to other countries that are obviously seeing America, and as America attempts to be like a beacon to to set themselves an example. Our president
Exactly.
should also be setting an example for the citizens.
Just think about how that could affect the United Nations as a whole. That's
Yeah.
it's crazy. Moving on to our next candidate, Biden. We really want to express our concerns with the approval and disapproval rate of Biden. The approval rate is only 33% of the entire public, and that is conducted from a article from Pew Research as of December 3rd, 2023. It's only a 33%.
Yeah, and all of these statistics will be linked down below for you to see them
Yes,
and read more about the article. Because of course we're talking about the statistics, but there's Pew Research especially. There's so much information and background that they've done
definitely.
that I definitely suggest checking out and looking at it yourself.
Yeah, under every
Yeah,
single poll in the link, there's always going to be information under it explaining what the poll is going to be about.
yeah, and we'll also be linking all of our references down below.
Mhm.
And there will be little graphs on the screen referencing what we're talking about.
Now that we talked about the two main candidates, I want to start talking about the other candidates that are running for office. First person I want to talk about is Nikki Haley. She has had some controversial remarks, but she has also done some pretty good things already. One of her little controversial remarks already that she's trying to do is upping the retirement age to 70 instead of 65.
Which is crazy.
Definitely crazy. She's also a supporter of pro-life, and she's against abortions for rape and incest victims.
Yeah, which is yeah.
Definitely
She's
concerning.
also though she is on the younger side, which is nice
Mm-hmm.
to see someone
Definitely.
who is on the younger side being able to garner a lot of votes. I
Yep.
think it's interesting that she is currently trying to put her position as like a white passing woman when she's Indian.
Definitely.
Which is I think that's honestly commentary for what it takes to be like a president, and that people seem to see the need to be white passing instead of being like non-white, which is interesting to look
Mm-hmm.
at. Um,
And to not totally bash her, she does definitely have some pros to her. She's cutting into income tax from middle income families, which is amazing. And she
mhm.
also acknowledges that climate change is real, which is definitely not something that you're going to see from the regular candidate.
So besides Nikki Haley, who is the leading opposition to Donald Trump in the Republican primary, there's also a ton of third-party candidates, which I think it is worthwhile to mention, even though historically third-party candidates don't often have like a high chance of winning. I don't remember when the last time a third-party candidate has won. And oftentimes they tend to hit like maybe like 8% of the vote at maximum. So as of right now, two of the main ones are Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is going as independent, and then there's also Claudia de la Cruz, who
Yep.
is a member
Yep.
of the Party of Socialism and Liberation. I think we would want to expand on her a little bit more just because she has, when it comes to Gen Z, which is what we want to focus on and also
Mm-hmm.
reflective views of, there has been a lot of Gen Z support for Claudia de la Cruz because
Definitely.
her policies lean more into socialism and she is pro-Palestine, which are a lot of views that Gen Z has shown, especially as the generation does tend to lean more leftist rather than right-wing when it comes to political ideas. And as the party of the PSL party. They are a Marxist Leninist and a very left wing party compared to the Democratic Party. Um, and so far, we've seen that she has gotten a lot of support, though there are a little bit of concern, especially from me as I am Tibetan, that the party is very pro China and pro Russia, especially when it comes to the politics of minority communities in China, and particularly where she is, where not her, but the party itself has been seen to be more supportive of mainland
Mm-hmm.
Chinese governments
Mm-hmm.
compared to Hong Kong or Taiwan or Tibet and their attempts at independence from the main government. Though this is a concern mainly directed to her party and not exactly to her as, yeah, I don't think she, as of right now, we don't really know much about her stances on those direct ideas, but those are just concerns from the party.
So this is going to conclude all the information that we have for today's podcast. I highly recommend you go check out the links that we provided in the description and definitely do your own research about the candidates in this presidential election. This election is probably one of the most important since Gen Z is going to be able to vote. Most of Gen Z is going to be able to vote. And yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. We really encourage you to go out and vote for the primaries if you
definitely.
are eligible to, as they are currently happening right now. As we lead into February, March, and April, we will link a website down below where you'll be able to see the dates of the primary and see what states you're going to be eligible for. And if you have any concerns regarding domestic violence or immigration, please reach out to Latin Women in Action, as we will be able to help you and we'll hear out your case. And if you need any type of consultation or anything, those links will be in the description.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, I highly recommend subscribing because we are definitely going to be releasing more podcasts exactly like these. If you want to leave some of your own feedback, leave a comment down below. And if you want to see more videos like these in your feed, I definitely recommend you like the video.
And yeah, thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for next week's podcast.
Yeah. See you
Bye.
guys.